A simple Lincoln penny, struck in 1971, slipped into circulation like any other. It passed through gas stations, grocery counters, and candy jars. Nobody noticed it. Nobody cared. But hidden inside its copper surface was a secret that would rewrite coin collecting history. Collectors call it the 1971 Writ No Mint Mark penny. To the naked eye, it looks ordinary. Just another brown cent rattling around in your change. But under closer inspection, something is terribly wrong and terribly valuable. The story begins with a mistake at the U.S. Mint. A mistake so rare, so unbelievable, that it slipped through the cracks unnoticed. In 1971, the Mint was striking billions of pennies. Denver coins carried a D. San Francisco coins carried an S. But a tiny handful of pennies were struck with no mint mark at all. They weren't supposed to exist. Yet they do. And that's not all. Some of these coins carry the mysterious writ error, a strange doubling and distortion on the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." To most people, it looks like a smudge. But to a trained eye, it's the difference between a 1-cent coin and a life-changing fortune. One of these pennies surfaced at auction. At first, experts argued, could this really be authentic? Could this tiny flaw turn copper into gold? Then the hammer dropped. The coin sold for nearly $1.5 million. Collectors were speechless. Dealers were scrambling. A penny that most people would have spent on gum had become a millionaire's treasure. Imagine it. Somewhere in America, right now, one of these pennies could be sitting in a coffee can, a dusty drawer, or even a child's piggy bank. Every time someone empties their pocket change, the dream lingers. Could I be holding one? The writ error looks like strange doubling, almost like the letters are slightly blurred or stretched. The word liberty might look thicker, the motto may appear shadowed. And the absence of a mint mark below the date seals its fate. That combination, no mint mark, plus the writ distortion, is the golden ticket. Collectors were shocked when photographs of this penny first appeared online. Some thought it was fake. Others swore it was a hoax. But professional grading services confirmed it. The mistake was real. The value was real. And the story spread like wildfire. But here's what makes the hunt so electrifying. Most people don't know what to look for. They glance, they shrug, they spend it. Meanwhile, those who pay attention, those who check every penny under a bright light, they're the ones who have a chance to uncover history. And it's not just about money. Finding a coin like this is like holding lightning in your hands. It's proof that accidents, oversights, and secrets can slip past the largest mint in the world. It's proof that treasures can still hide in plain sight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these rare 1971 writ pennies. Some even offer rewards, desperate to track them down before another record-breaking sale makes headlines. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1970. The Mint in Denver was working overtime, stamping out millions of Lincoln cents. But in the chaos of production, something went terribly, mysteriously wrong. A handful of pennies left the presses carrying a hidden error, so subtle, so deceptive, that most people never notice it. Collectors now whisper about it, as if it's a legend. The 1970 Lincoln cent with the mysterious writ mark. For decades, these coins passed hand to hand, buying cups of coffee, riding in children's piggy banks, clinking across grocery counters. No one gave them a second thought. But buried in that river of copper was a mistake so rare, so shocking, that today it commands prices climbing into the stratosphere, up to $1.4 million for a single penny. But here's the part that stunned the coin world. The error wasn't obvious. This wasn't a double date that anyone could spot with a quick glance. It wasn't a missing mint mark that screamed from the surface. It was something stranger, something far easier to overlook. In place of the usual D mark beneath the date, a distorted impression appeared, struck in a way that looked like the letters writ. At first, people thought it was damage. Just a scratch, just where? But careful collectors saw the truth. And when the first verified example hit the auction block, jaws dropped. One man walked in with a penny he thought might be worth a few $100s. He walked out with a life-changing fortune. The hammer came down at nearly $1 million for a single coin he once carried loose in his change. And that was only the beginning. But what happened next stunned even the experts. Word spread, and treasure hunters across the country began tearing through jars of pennies, combing through pocket change, searching for that telltale writ mark. Dealers reported being flooded with calls, desperate collectors begging for any lead. And yet, only a handful of these coins have ever surfaced. Each time one appears, the bidding wars ignite all over again. Each time, another ordinary person discovers that pocket change can hold a miracle. Imagine this. You're paying for gas. You glance down at your change, and there it is. A 1970 Lincoln penny with a strange, twisted mint mark beneath the date. Most people would spend it without thinking. But you? You remember this story. You pause. You look closer. And in that moment, you realize you're holding a $1 million miracle in the palm of your hand. Collectors were shocked when they first learned the truth. How could such a simple coin carry such a staggering value? The answer lies in its rarity. These errors weren't just unusual, they were virtually unknown for years. Only the most obsessive eyes ever caught them. That scarcity, that almost mythical invisibility, is what drives the price into the millions. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The writ impression appears just below the 1970 date, where the Denver D should be. Instead of a crisp D, you'll see a ghost-like distortion, a strange cluster of letters that seem out of place. Under magnification, it resembles writ, as if an entirely different word was struck into the coin by mistake. That's the key. That's the mark of a $1 million penny. And here's the danger. Many people confuse scratches, dents, or circulation damage for the real error. Countless hopeful treasure hunters have sent in ordinary coins, only to face disappointment. The true 1970 writ D mint mark penny has a distinct, deliberate look. It isn't random damage. It isn't just a flaw. It's a minting accident frozen forever in copper. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on this coin. Every time one surfaces, the coin world stops. Auctions buzz with tension, collectors hold their breath, and when the final price is called, the headlines remind us all why this little penny has become a legend. Oh, here's what you must remember. Look for a 1970 penny. Check beneath the date. If the mint mark looks strange, if it doesn't resemble a clear D but instead twists into ghost-like letters, stop. Don't spend it. Don't toss it aside. You may be holding a treasure, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. We're talking about the mysterious 1968 penny with the writ D mint mark. To the untrained eye, it looks like an ordinary Lincoln cent. But for those who know what to look for, this tiny copper coin hides a story of error, secrecy, and unimaginable value. The year was 1968. The Denver Mint was striking billions of Lincoln pennies. The presses ran hot, dies wore down, and small mistakes slipped through. Most of them went unnoticed. But one error stood apart. An experimental mint mark impression that collectors now call the writ D. At first glance, it seems like a normal D for Denver. But under magnification, the letter twists strangely, as if the engraver's hand slipped, creating faint letters beside it. What looks like writ fused into the mint mark. Experts can't agree if it was a hub doubling accident, a test punch gone wrong, or a rare transitional die mix-up. But one thing is certain, it should never have left the mint. For years, nobody noticed. These pennies passed from pocket to pocket, dropped into piggy banks, and jingled through cash registers. They lived quiet lives in change jars and glove compartments. Until one surfaced in the 1990s, and the coin world stopped cold. The first known 1968 writ D penny went to auction, and bidding exploded. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were whispering in the back rows. What should have been a 1-cent coin suddenly climbed past $100,000, then $250,000, then $500,000. By the time the hammer fell, the whispers turned to gasps. This penny had just made history, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another example was discovered, this time in near-perfect condition. And when that coin sold, it pushed past the $1 million mark. A single copper penny, smaller than your thumbnail, now rivaled rare gold coins and ancient treasures in value. Why? Because rarity is everything. The writ D mint mark is not just an error. It's an accident that was never supposed to exist. Some believe fewer than 5 are in the entire world. That's why collectors are rushing, scanning their old penny rolls, flipping through forgotten albums, hoping against hope they'll be the next to find one dot. And here's the detail that most people miss. The letters aren't bold. They aren't obvious. They almost look like scratches. But under a jeweler's loupe, you'll see the D curling strangely, with ghost-like impressions that appear to spell writ. It's not on every 1968 penny. In fact, it's so rare, most coin shops have never seen one in person. Imagine checking your change after buying a cup of coffee and spotting this tiny mint mark. Imagine mailing a penny to an auction house and months later watching it cross the $1 million threshold. Collectors have described it as life-changing. One man said it turned his pocket change into a miracle. But here's the warning. Not every strange-looking D is the writ D. Plenty of worn pennies show damage or scratches that fool beginners. That's why experts say you must look for the faint but deliberate pattern, the letters blending into the mint mark. If you see it, you may be holding a treasure that could rewrite your future T, and if it happens to be the 1968 writ D penny, that 1-cent piece could be worth over $1 million. The year was 1968. America was in turmoil, with protests in the streets, a war overseas, and a nation searching for hope. But inside the U.S. Mint, a different kind of story was unfolding. One of secrecy, mistakes, and a coin that was never supposed to exist. It all began with the Lincoln penny, a coin Americans knew well, minted by the billions. Nothing special, or so it seemed. But in 1968, something slipped through the cracks. An error so rare, so mysterious, that only a handful of collectors have ever laid eyes on it. The single penny from that year surfaced, with the word writ where it should have read Liberty. A minting mishap, a die clash, or perhaps something even stranger. No mint mark, no explanation. Just a ghostly mistake that transformed an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Dealers rushed to verify it. Collectors held their breath. And when it hit the auction block, the hammer dropped at nearly $1.9 million. Yes, a single cent, suddenly worth more than most houses. But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. Most people have handled a 1968 penny. They're still out there, in jars, drawers, even in circulation. And yet, this rare writ error continues to hide in plain sight. Look closely. Where the word Liberty should be, the letters are distorted. The L seems to fade, the I drifts, and the word takes on a haunting new shape, writ. At first glance, it looks like damage, like a worn-out coin that's been through too many pockets. But to the trained eye, it's a signal, a clue that you could be holding a once-in-a-century mistake. Collectors were shocked when the first one appeared. Experts debated whether it was intentional, accidental, or the result of a rare die error. But one fact remained undeniable. The market exploded, and anyone lucky enough to own one suddenly held a ticket to life-changing wealth. But the story doesn't end there. Because rumors began to spread. Whispers of other coins, hidden stashes, pennies quietly trading hands in private deals. Could there be more out there? Could one still be hiding in your pocket change? But what makes this coin so dangerous is how easy it is to overlook. Most people never bother to check. They spend their pennies without a thought. They let them gather dust in jars. And in doing so, they might be tossing away $1 million fortune. So here's how you can identify it. Pick up any 1968 penny. Hold it under the light. Look carefully at the word Liberty. If the letters look stretched, misshapen, or, incredibly, spell out writ, you may be staring at one of the rarest errors in American history. And here's the truth every collector knows deep down. These coins don't just belong in museums or vaults. They're still out there, waiting to be found by someone with sharp eyes and a little luck. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Picture this. It's 1967. The nation is celebrating its past, dreaming of its future, and pumping out billions of Lincoln cents. These were everyday coins, small, copper reminders of American grit. But hidden among those billions was a mistake, a quiet error, a mystery that no one spotted at first. Decades later, one collector pulled out an ordinary-looking penny. No mint mark, nothing flashy, just a simple 1967 Lincoln cent. But something about it was different. Under a jeweler's loupe, the story began to unfold. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because this was no ordinary penny. This was a survivor from one of the most chaotic years in American coinage. 1967 wasn't just another year. It was the middle of the mint's historic decision to strip coins of their mint marks. A desperate move to combat nationwide coin hoarding. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco, all stripped of their identity. For 3 long years, Every cent bore nothing more than the date and Lincoln's solemn profile. But here's the twist most collectors don't know. Within that storm of production, errors slipped through. Rare planchet anomalies. Strikes so sharp they gleamed like proofs. A handful so flawless, so utterly unique, that they became instant legends. And in one shocking auction, a single 1967 Lincoln cent with no mint mark fetched a price tag that still echoes. Nearly $1.8 million. Think about that. A coin meant for pocket change, something you could have used to buy a stick of gum, became a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were speechless. And suddenly, everyone was rushing to check their jars, their drawers, even the coins hiding between couch cushions. But why? What made this penny worth millions while billions of others remain ordinary? The answer lies in the tiniest of details. Subtle doubling visible only under careful magnification. Razor-sharp strikes that set it apart from the dull masses. And above all, the condition. Because while billions were spent, scraped, and forgotten, only a tiny handful survived in pristine, uncirculated brilliance. One man's pocket change became a million-dollar miracle. Imagine dropping a coin on the sidewalk, not realizing it could change your entire life. That's the drama of this penny. That's why collectors are obsessed. And that's why you need to know exactly what to look for. But the story doesn't stop there. Auction houses have whispered of discoveries so rare that they sparked bidding wars lasting late into the night. Lifelong dealers have admitted they overlooked this coin, only to find out later they let a fortune slip through their fingers. And in one case, a single cent found in a roll from a small-town bank sent shockwaves through the entire collecting community. This tiny copper disc holds a power far beyond its weight. And the most haunting thought of all, somewhere out there, another one could still be waiting, sitting in an attic, sleeping in an old coffee can, or jingling unnoticed in a pocket right now. So how do you know if you have one? First, check the date, 1967. No mint mark below the year, because that year, none should exist. Next, examine the strike. The million-dollar examples are razor-sharp, with details so fine they almost look like they came from a proof set. Look for doubling, especially in the date and the lettering. And condition is everything. If your coin looks fresh, brilliant, untouched by circulation, you could be staring at a life-changing rarity. But be warned. Most 1967 pennies are worth only face value. Dealers see piles of them every day. What separates the priceless from the ordinary is rarity, error, and condition. Miss even one of those clues, and you might toss away a fortune without ever knowing it. Collectors call it the hunt of a lifetime, the thrill of discovery. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1964. The U.S. Mint was under pressure, scrambling to meet enormous demand for coins. Mistakes were made, presses overworked, and dies re-engraved in secrecy. Among the chaos, a handful of pennies were struck that should never have existed. But this is where the story takes its twist. A Lincoln cent, bearing a Rit D-style mint mark, a bizarre, almost ghost-like anomaly. Some experts believe it was a mispunched Denver mint mark. Others whisper it was a clandestine test strike, slipped into circulation by accident. For decades, no one knew. These coins passed through pockets, jars, and piggy banks, thought to be nothing more than pocket change. But then, one surfaced at auction. And what happened next stunned even veteran dealers. Bidding began cautiously, but within minutes, collectors realized what they were looking at. The room fell silent, then erupted. Numbers climbed, hands shot up. A penny, a single copper coin, raced past $50,000, $100,000, $200,000. Collectors were shocked. Newspapers called it the miracle penny. Dealers began rushing to check their inventories. And average Americans, people just like you, suddenly wondered if their spare change held a fortune. Most Lincoln cents from 1964 carry a clean D for Denver or no mint mark at all. But on this ultra-rare variety, the mint mark appears distorted, doubled, or crudely punched, creating the bizarre appearance of extra letters, a phantom Rit D that shouldn't exist. But what happened next only deepened the mystery. Another example surfaced, in a roll of unsearched pennies, bought for just a few dollars. The owner nearly fainted when experts confirmed the error. His spare change had turned into a life-changing treasure. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The story spread like wildfire. Forums lit up, collectors compared photos late into the night, and treasure hunters armed with magnifying glasses scoured their jars. Here's how you can tell. Take out every 1964 penny you own. Look at the mint mark beneath the date. A normal D is sharp, single, and perfectly aligned. But on the million-dollar rarity, the mark is uneven, blobby, or even shows strange overlapping impressions. The mysterious writ D effect. Be careful not to confuse it with scratches or wear. That's the trap that fools most people. What you're looking for is a clear sign of a mispunched mint mark, a detail that transforms an ordinary cent into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Collectors know these coins are out there, but fewer than a handful have ever been confirmed. And that scarcity is exactly why their value keeps climbing, shocking the coin world again and again. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.